Shabbat Shalom. Are you almost ready for High Holy Days to begin? Are you getting ready to have your apples and honey, getting your honey all? Make sure you have that honey. We'll have it here, but you want to have some honey at home. Make sure you have a lot because we want to have an especially sweet year. We all need that. So, a lot happens in our Parsha, the Shabbat, Ki Tavo. The Israelites are instructed to express their gratitude to God for their bountiful harvests and their freedom from slavery by tithing 10% of their crops for the Levite, the stranger, the orphan, and the widow. The people are then told to display on large stones God's commandments for all to see. Then they are told that they will be blessed or cursed depending upon whether they follow or they violate the commandments. And if they obey the mitzvot faithfully, then they will receive every blessing imaginable. But if they don't, if they break their covenant, their brit with God, many, many curses will descend upon them. So a lot of people get worried about this and they think, am I being punished? Is God punishing me? But the reality is that we create our own energy. We create our own chaos. And so we have to be very mindful of how we put ourselves out in the world, how we think. If something negative comes to us, we just have to put that X mark through it and blow it away. And we have to not allow that negativity to take us down, because it will. Moses reminds them of the miracles that they witnessed and commands them to observe the terms of the covenant so that they may succeed in all that they undertake. Why? So that the blessing will follow. We are now less than 3 weeks away from our highest of holiest of days, and this Parsha, this Shabbat, sets the stage. It's not an accident. Sets the stage for charity and clarity of purpose. Kabbalistically, everything that we are given, as you know, is for the purpose of sharing, not keeping tight-fisted, sharing. As I was leaving my home, a person stopped me and I rolled down the window and they said, "Rabbi, what is your message going to be this Shabbat?" I was like, am I in the shtetl? And I said, well, do you really want to know? And I said, this is the Parsha, and this person is a very devout Christian, about tithing, giving in order to get, not for the purpose of manipulating to get, but to openly give. And when we do this, then the abundance flows to us more freely of everything. It's not just money. The more we share our gifts, our beautiful musicians, if we just harbored and sat and just, played for small little groups rather than playing for large halls or coffee houses or the synagogue, we share our gifts and then we receive blessing for that. And everyone is uplifted. The more tight-fisted one is, the more tsuris, the more suffering he or she may actually endure. Think of somebody who hoards. Does anybody know anyone that hoards? Or have you ever had to buy a couple of things of the same thing just because you were afraid that you might not have enough, especially after COVID? The gathering of things gives momentary satisfaction, but it is never, ever enough. Items are collected until the individual is overwhelmed with stuff that clutters not only the physical home, but the home and the soul. The clutter creates chaos. And there's all kinds of clutter. It's not just things. We clutter up our mind with negative thoughts. We clutter up our space with negative people. We clutter up our world with negative intentions. And it's time, at this time, at Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, to clear out the clutter and to clear away the chaos, because the chaos is taking us all down. Whereas one who gives and shares freely is unencumbered. They radiate blessing. They radiate light, a light that shines through their very being with the process of giving and receiving and giving again. Our parsha this Shabbat Ki Tavo states that 10% of our abundance should be given, then at that time it was their crops, to the Levite, the stranger, the orphan, and the widow. This practice of tithing, like my neighbor, we discussed it, comes from us. The Old Testament, it's right in there, the Shabbat. And it's earlier in the year too, because we're now in Deuteronomy, so we're recounting things. So the practice of tithing comes from us of giving, which, as I've said, many different religions have adopted as a way to promote what? Blessing and abundance in one's life through sharing. The concept is that for those who give, more will come, and that abundance will follow. In Judaism, there is a code for giving accredited to Maimonides. Our first president always said to me, she was very good at cracking that whip, having little notes, telling me. And she's like, you need to come down hard on them about giving. You don't ever really give it to them and tell them what they're supposed to do. So I'm going to tell you right now. I feel like I say it, but I'm going to give you Maimonides' ladder of Tzedakah, it states that the best forms of charity make the recipient self-sufficient, and several types of giving are outlined. Number one, which is interesting because we all think anonymous giving is the highest, but according to Maimonides, it's number two. Number one, business partnerships with the poor, those less advantaged. The highest degree of charity, of which there is no higher, is he or she who strengthens the hand of the other and gives a gift or, and I quote, an interest-free loan, which can at times be considered actually higher, or enters into a business partnership or relationship with the person who is less fortunate. The other individual is thereby strengthened, as the Torah commands, being able to what? Be independent, stand on their own. It is written, strengthen him, the poor person, so that he or she does not fall and become dependent on others. Number two, anonymous giving and receiving, or matan beseter, giving in secret. This is practicing the mitzvah of charity for the sake of the mitzvah. Since the benefactor has no benefit at all, social or egotistical, they are just purely giving. In biblical times, there was a courtyard in the temple where people would place their donations secretly, and the poor would benefit in secret. A similar act in modern times would be to put money into a charity box. A lot of synagogues will have one when you come in. We don't have one. I don't know why. I'm saying this right now. Let us get a tzedakah box right out there. So that when you come in and you go, there are envelopes you can always give. You don't have to wait till High Holy Days. And the third is when the donor knows who the recipient is. This is considered a little bit lower in rank because the benefactor may have subconsciously pleasure or a sense of power over the recipient, detracting from the actual act of giving, making it less meritorious than the other ways we've spoken of. Number four, you following all this? Hope you're taking notes. When the recipient actually knows who the donor is. This is where the recipient is aware of the source of the charity, but the giver does not know to whom the money is being given. This degree is a little lower since the recipient, knowing who gave him or her the money, feels beholden to him or her and feels ashamed in their presence. Kabbalistically, this is called the bread of shame. Yet there is merit in this still because that poor individual was saved from direct shame. Number five, when both the donor and the recipient know, but the gift precedes the request. So the person didn't have to ask for it. The donor knew the person needed it and then gave it to them. This is of less merit since both are actually known to one another, but at least the gift is made before the individual has to ask for it, humbling themselves, feeling degraded, feeling vulnerable, feeling shame. And that's the key point here. This need is recognized and the gift is given before one has to make the request. Pride is spared, no shame is incurred, as the giver is showing care to the receiver because they anticipate the need. For example, Abraham doesn't wait for the stranger to come ask for assistance, those visitors, but runs toward them and begs to share his hospitality. And this is considered to be the highest form of Jewish righteousness. Anticipate the need and rise to the occasion. Recognizing that what you have been given is what? For the purpose of sharing. Give from the point of abundance rather than dwelling on scarcity, and blessing will follow. If you dwell on the negative, I'm so afraid, I'm so afraid, I'm so afraid, I better keep it, I better keep it, I better keep it. Well, what you fear most sometimes can be brought to you. Negativity attracts like a magnet. Has ever anyone felt that, seen that happen in their lives? You're afraid of something, and what happens? It happens. Either it's a foreshadowing of what's to come, or you've brought it to yourself. Think positively. Give openly and positively, rather than dwelling on scarcity. However, one must not give, as I said at the beginning, with the expectation of receiving, or the act itself is negated. The consciousness and the motivation behind giving must be pure. It must be free of any preconceived intent. And it must be just at least a little bit more than that which makes the giver feel comfortable. We are meant to feel uncomfortable. A person who has less money and gives, and I know a lot of people who have no money and they give. And then there's a lot of people, I know a lot of people with a lot of money who give, and I know a lot of people with a lot of money who don't. Something to think about. This leads us to number 6 through number 8, giving only when the recipient has to ask for it, giving willingly, or giving grudgingly. Have you ever felt in a position where you gave, I don't really feel like doing it, but I know it's the right thing to do, so here. I was driving down the street in that terrible intersection where Anaheim and Peavey Drive South, and I don't know, there's like Gaffey and so many streets coming together. And on the edge of the, like almost in the middle of the street, was a man with his dog. Now, someone told me they train their dogs to do this, but I'm sorry. This poor dog did not look well, and it was so hot. Remember when we had the heat? And he had, slime coming out of his mouth, and he was laying there like that. And the guy had a sign up saying, please help us, please help us. And, who knows? It's not for us to judge, it's for God to judge. But I went in my purse, and all I had, I think I had a $10 bill, I don't know. But I gave it to him, and he was like, really? And I said, please, the 7-Eleven is right over there. Get your dog something to drink. And get something for yourself. That might be healthy, but it's not for me to judge. But please, take care of your dog. And so we're not supposed to pass judgment. We're supposed to give freely. I have given to people all the last change I had in my purse, and they've thrown it on the ground and said, don't insult me. Okay, we just need to give. That's all. That's all it is. One who gives less than what is fitting, but does it with good grace. This is an important and integral part of charity. It is thought that when we do this, when we're asked for it, as we've said, it's of a lower degree. And it's important to know that giving is, in Judaism, it's at the core of everything we do and everything we are. We are the people of the commandments. We are the people who do mitzvot. It's not an accident that this is the time that these last lessons come through in Deuteronomy for us to receive them right before High Holidays. And guess what's coming on Yom Kippur Day? The annual appeal, right? This is why it's here. It's not an accident. It's interesting, and it's sometimes very sad to me. There are 3 basic types of people at this time. When the envelopes go around and our musicians are playing beautiful music, there are those people who are so excited. They have a mission. They get their envelope, they get their stickers, they're all ready, they're making their decision, they're very busy putting it on their tickets or whatever we're doing that year, and then they breathe a sigh of relief and they put it in the basket and they settle in for whatever's coming next. And then there's the one that kind of looks around, grabs the envelope, looks at it, maybe is trying to figure out what they can afford to give, or maybe even just pretends to give and doesn't. And then there's the third one that just knows it's coming and leaves. I see them leave before the annual appeal. And then, it's hard because everyone's in a different place. There might be someone that truly gives and has very good intention, but then they can't fulfill their gift because hardship happens, life happens. But the synagogues depend on that. They make their budgets on that. We depend on that. So it's a complicated thing. And giving isn't just about money. It's about our time. Our time is a valuable commodity. Volunteering, supporting this mission is as important as the money that it takes to support it, sustain it, and bring it to fruition. Our parsha begins with blessings, it ends with curses, as we've said. If you give, you get. There will be no scarcity. If you share what you have been given willingly, you will reap even more. You get what you sow. Not you reap what you sow, that too, but you get what you sow. On the other hand, if you are tight-fisted, miserly, and turn away from those in need, curse will befall you. It's in there. Judaism is rooted in abundance, bountiful blessing. What is told to us over and over again? Bountiful blessing. We will be more numerous than the stars in the sky. It will be bestowed upon us when we are morally upright, good to one another, especially to those less fortunate and those in need. A worker, it is written, should be paid a fair wage. Positions of the field should be left for the stranger, the portions, the money, all different spots all around, identified for them to come. Nobody has to see who's coming or who's going, but it's there. The stranger, the orphan, the widow, loans, once again, should be interest-free. It's all there in the Torah, our guidebook for ethical living. And as stated earlier, not just for everyone, not just for us, all of humanity. Many, many religions attest to the importance of tithing, and many, many religions depend on it. It's also always interesting to me that sometimes the highest givers in Judaism are the people who have converted. For some reason, other religions seem to make this more clear. We do have high donors, but it's shocking to me, in 30 years of working in synagogues, it is the converts that I see always opening up their hands and giving money, time, devotion. Not to say that the rest of us that didn't convert aren't worthy, but it's an important thing to know. For some reason, they get it. Whereas in Judaism, because people pay for membership, sometimes they feel that is enough. But synagogues, no matter what their size, and I have been in synagogues of 20 and synagogues of 3,000, where 9,000 people show up at the Yamim Noraim. And it's always the same. Everyone struggles, everyone works with their budgets, everyone's got a bottom line that scares them. But everyone keeps moving forward because we are a people of the book and we don't give up. So in Judaism, with the membership, it's usually way less than what is needed. And even with that, many of the members are on scholarship. Many of them make a pledge, like we said, and then something happens and they can't pay it. But regardless, membership is vital to the foundation of a synagogue's support of Judaism. And tithing or giving of any kind on top of the membership, over and above it, is vital for its sustenance and its growth, not just in Judaism, but everywhere. And everyone is suffering. Since COVID, we have 2 churches that are in here, they're suffering. They don't have anywhere near the same amount of people. They're not getting the money even when they pass the basket. It is tough out there. and in here. As we continue our preparation for our Yamim Noraim, as I said, in just less than 3 weeks, do not wait for Yom Kippur to hastily decide what you might give. Think about what you are able to share, not just monetarily, but of yourself. As it is said, you need to give to the point of discomfort and then give a little more. And this is coming from Maimonides, one of our greatest sages. And our Torah, it's all outlined. Bring your gifts to support the tabernacle. Our synagogue depends on it. Judaism depends on it. God depends on it. And those who support this organization depend on it. May the choices that we make bring blessings of unimaginable wealth, a wealth of purpose, a wealth of health, and a wealth of abundant happiness. As we embark upon our journey of redemption and renewal, may the tithing that we give reflect the light that is and will forever be Torah and uplift us all. King Yiratzon, may it be God's will. Shabbat Shalom.